syndicate, Islamic dollar syndicate of 150 million, and there were DFIs through which we raised 85 million, and pretty decent pricing, which obviously achieved our objective of achieving a decent equity IRR for our shareholders. So that's about it from me. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
There's a mic making its way. Once again, just a request, if the questions can be extremely precise so that we can get along with the actual discussion.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Munawar Hamid, and I'm having a small firm, small organization, Brainstorms. Brainstorms, basically, we prepare future CFOs. So my question is here, a large number of students to whom I deal, they come from local education system, and a very small number of students, they come from Cambridge education system. You talk about believe in long-term viability in Pakistan. You talk about major investments in Pakistan. So there's a suggestion from my side, and this is a need of the country, that a large number of students who are coming from the local education system, especially in accounting and finance, at their intermediate and graduation level, they go in waste. So there's a important need that we should, private sector should step in and try to groom them. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Do you need to answer that, or?
I think it was just along the lines of...
Just a suggestion.
Thank you. Any other questions? There's a question here, Shahid Saab. I don't know where the mic is anymore.
Thank you. Ruhail, I wanted to ask, I agree with you about the environment opportunities in Pakistan, but obviously the macro, there are a large number of macro risks as well. And really the financing structure was excellent and innovative. But do you think, keeping the macro risks in mind, would a structure like this be too aggressive if, anything goes wrong, but it doesn't leave too much sort of margin for error? And I know Engro's execution is, mashallah, fabulous, but still, I don't know, you must have thought about that in the decision making.
Sorry, as I understand, you're saying, is this structure too aggressive right now, or?
The debt, the original structure you put up,
yeah.
Keeping in mind the risk profile in Pakistan, do you think it would be too aggressive if something goes amiss?
Well, the fallback, as I said, first of all, the level of leveraging that was allowed was primarily due to the sector which we were in. For example, if in the IT company or in a food company, we would never leverage that much. We would probably be like 50-50 or something like that. Because the fertilizer industry, due to its characteristics, in fact, I've been told by a number of bankers, would rather lend to the fertilizer industry than the power industry, where you have a GOP guarantee as well. But the point is that it's a cash business, it's a protected business in a way, because you're shielded from international competition and domestic competition. So the risk is really execution. And for that, so therefore, just to clarify, the operational risk of minimum after startup. Pre-startup, the risk is absolutely there, and then anything can happen. And our fallback strategy would be an equity issue, and that equity issue doesn't need to be at the parent level. We have now subsidiaries which are 100% owned, including fertilizer as an example, which we now power, etc. So the fallback would easily be an equity issue, which would take care of the overruns as such. So that's been thought through from the execution perspective.
I'm extremely apologetic, Shahid Saab. There's been somebody who's been jumping up and down on his seat, quite literally. Is it all right if I pass the mic all the way back there? वहाँ पीछे बिल्कुल तोड़ के mic दे दीजिएगा. We're trying to revive the back seat, the back benchers.
So I have a very small question. Can you compare your capabilities of funding and techniques involved with those of one of your competitor who is also putting up the fertilizer plant? Is there any comparison?
Well, I am not aware of fully the details of, you're talking about Fatma Fertilizer?
Yes.
I am not fully aware of their financial plan as such, but by and large, maybe except the international market, they would have probably done similar types of instruments. We were probably done at the same time. Maybe they started a little bit early, and then some of the transactions were done subsequently. So it's excluding our dollar loans, etc., probably it could be, probably be similar as well.
Okay, thank you.
There's a question over here. खासी एक्सरसाइज करवाने के शौकीन हैं हम.
What I understand that fertilizer industry are getting subsidy in the form of low rate of gas. Don't you think that it's a risk one day if the government would withdraw that subsidy? Have you taken into account all the cost you would be paying to the borrowers?
Actually, we'll be very happy if the subsidy is taken away, because we are unfortunately blamed for something which goes directly to the farmer. I'll give you some numbers so that you understand, and I'll give you spot numbers. Today, the international price of urea landed in Pakistan, delivered to the farmer, will be something like $350 a ton. We sell urea in Pakistan at $180. The gas subsidy which we get is about $65 to $70. So we are actually giving more benefit to the farmer than we are receiving. We'll be very happy if that subsidy is taken away, because it appears to the general press that we are sort of making billions out of the subsidy, which is not the case. So in fact, to give you a number, over the last 5 years, the fertilizer industry has given about 260 billion after taking out the subsidy portion to the farmer in form of lower prices versus international prices. So there is no risk at all as far as that is concerned.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ruhail sir. I think very interesting presentation. Thank you so much for sharing those stats, figures. Thank you, sir. And thank you for sticking to the time that you committed to. It's all about accountability today. Next, we move on to our panel discussion. It is about career insights from CFOs that have made the grade. May I please invite the moderator, Fareed Ahmed Khan, who is the country manager of Credit Suisse, if you can make your way up onto the stage, followed by Mr. Mohammed Hanif Chakura, who is the CEO of the Central Depository Company. Could you please join us on stage? Mr. Khalid Rahman, who is the CEO and Managing Director of Pakistan Petroleum Limited. Mr. Abdul Aziz, who is the President and CEO of Ufone. Mohammed Ali Zaid, who is MD and CEO of Adamji Insurance. Parvez Ghayas, who is the CEO of Indus Motors. And Syed Azhar Ali, who is the Managing Director of Tetra Pak. This panel will be talking about, we'll have some of the top CEOs who have successfully transitioned to the role of CEO, and they will look at what it takes to be a successful Chief Financial Officer and successful transition to other C-suite roles. What, as a Chief Financial Officer, best prepares you for the CEO role and the progression and the succession and capacity building, and the first 100 days as a CEO, and of course, lessons learned from the transition itself. We have very brightly sparkling mics. Fareed Saab, I will turn the panel over to you. Can we please give our panel a big round of applause?
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Fareed Khan from Credit Suisse, and it's a real pleasure for me to welcome you on this panel discussion on CFOs who have blossomed into the role of CEOs. My distinguished panel today includes Mr. Azhar Ali from Tetra Pak, Pakistan, Mr. Mohammed Ali Zaid from Adamji Insurance, Mr. Khalid Rahman from Pakistan Petroleum, Mr. Hanif Chakura from Central Depository Company, Mr. Abdul Aziz from Ufone, and Mr. Parvez Ghayas from Indus Motors, Pakistan. Now, from managing the finance function to managing an entire organization, from controlling costs to measuring performances, from managing cash flows to managing people's careers, even the boards of their respective companies, and from targeting return on investments to targeting market shares and shareholder value. The transformation of a CFO into the role of a CEO, I think truly marks the coming of age of a professional. And in today's panel, we will try to seek some insight